The most common type of media to place in a container field is a graphic or picture. You can insert JPEGs, GIFs, PNGs, PICs, and many more graphic types. We'll see what types there are in a few minutes here. But first we're going to try copying and pasting into a container field. So we'll hide FileMaker Pro Advanced. We'll open up one of the graphics we have available, and these are on your work files. You can open it up in any program I've opened up in Preview, just as long as you can copy. If you can get into the clipboard, Mac or Windows, it will go into a container field. So we'll close that, go back to FileMaker, make sure it clicked into this container field. Remember, you'll see that dark line around it. And then you just simply choose Paste. And there goes the logo right in there. And you can get rid of this very easily. Just click into it and hit the Delete key. Or if we paste it back in, you could cut it out. Or if we paste it back in there, you could clear it. So it's very easy to get that out of there. So a lot of times what people do is script this whole process. You don't want a user accidentally deleting the graphic and going, whoops, I didn't mean to do that, because they didn't really see. They thought they were in this field and they hit the delete key. So often what I do is prevent access to this and have buttons that say insert the logo, delete it, and that way we can give warning messages and things like that. So let's go ahead and try inserting a graphic. It's a little bit different. You click into the field, the container field, and you go to the insert menu where you see all the different types you have: picture, QuickTime, sound, and file. So we're going to choose picture, and you can see we're looking at all the picture files we have. We're on all available, but you can choose specific formats if you want. Like we said, there's EPS, GIF, JPEG, PICT, BMP, all different types all the way down here. Should suit just about everybody. I usually leave it on all available because then FileMaker will pick. It's very easy for it to look at the headers of that file and figure out what type of file it is and use the right format for it. Now right below this we have store only a reference to the file. Now we're going to leave it unchecked for right now. And if we leave it unchecked, it takes that graphic, that picture, and places the whole thing inside of FileMaker. That means if you delete that file off of your desktop where we have it right now, wherever it is on your hard drive, it still exists in FileMaker. However, it doesn't update though. If you change that picture, it won't update inside of FileMaker because it's actually in there. But the advantage is you can take that file, that FileMaker file, and move it anywhere, take it to another hard drive, and that picture will still be there. It does make that file bigger. I mean, if you've got a 100K JPEG that you import, well, your FileMaker database is going to be 100K bigger. The difference is if you store only a reference, all that's stored in there is the path to that file. So you're thinking, wow, that's great. Well, let's look at the disadvantages and the advantages. The advantage is the file doesn't increase in size very much because all you have is a path to that graphic. But at that point, if you move that graphic, then FileMaker can't find it. It's not that they display any differently. They look exactly the same whether it's a reference or not. What happens is you can't move that file now. If you move that graphic file, then FileMaker can't find it. You can, with calculations and scripting, update the path in here if you want to change that location, so that's not a problem. But if you move it without thinking, it just won't show up anymore. And then you got to consider issues with multi-user. If you have a multi-user environment, well, the server where you're storing the graphics has to be accessible to everybody, likely a public server, so that when they go to look at this record and look at that picture, it's going to be able to go through your network, find that server, so they have to be able to log on to it. So there's ups and downs, ins and outs of each method. We're actually going to go ahead and place it right inside of FileMaker. And we're going to choose this picture of me. I'll click open, and it goes right in there. So let's go ahead and try out some of the options you have with a container field. We're going to go into layout mode, go to the media, click on that field, and we're going to pull up the inspector. But before we do that, we're going to turn on sample data. Otherwise, we're going to have to go in and out of layout mode. Go to browse mode, see what it looked like, to see all these changes that we're making. Now, under the data tab, we can go ahead and choose data formatting for a graphic, right? If you hold over that, it says graphic. And we see right up here we have the default, which is reduce image to fit and maintain original proportions. So right now, if we uncheck that, it fills it all up. It reduces it to fit. The graphic's much bigger than this actual field. So you can see how that changes right there. And you can see with that checked, we can actually change it over to the left, over to the right, back to the center. Can't really do top and bottom because it's already filling that up there, but it would work, and I won't show those. But there's some other choices here. Crop. You can see it's cropping it, cutting it off here. And if we made the field bigger, you'd see that eventually it would get wide enough, or if you made it taller, get tall enough to show the whole picture. But because this field's smaller than the actual picture, it crops it. You're getting actual size, but you don't see the whole thing. Then we also have enlarge image to fit. And we'll try turning that off. It doesn't really make a difference because this picture is bigger than what's in that actual container field. And then we have reduce or enlarge. So it always fills it up. And in fact, if you always do this, the picture will always fill up this whole screen. And maybe you want that. Maybe it's a pattern or something, or who knows what, or a logo that you always want to fill it up. So there's all kinds of options here, but I'm going to go back to the most common one. Reduce image to fit, and leave it at that. So there's a lot of options here as far as the way your graphic looks inside of that container field. Now, I do recommend once you've done with show sample data that you turn it off, because it's much better to see those field names. So we're going to go back to that. I'm going to go back to browse mode, and we can take a look at that anytime we want. And it's different for every record, of course. It's just like text. You can put a different picture, or as we'll see, QuickTime Movie or file on every single record.